Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a science fiction horror film, Pandorum. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. In the future year 2153, the population on Earth has sharply risen up to over 24 billion due to people's disregard towards birth control. Thus all of a sudden, energy resources on Earth become extremely scarce. Human beings have tried everything they can to solve the problem, and finally, they find an Earth-like planet Tanis to immigrate to. Then in 2174, an interstellar ark called Elysium starts a 123-year trip to Tanis, carrying 60,000 people. After 8 years' travel, the ark receives a transmission from Earth that there has been a serious war with numerous nuclear bombs exploded, destroying all the living creatures on Earth, which means those 60,000 immigrants on the ship are the only human beings left. In order to hold people together, the 3 crews on the ship block the news. As the destination is too far away with 123 years flying distance, they decide to place passengers in hypersleep until they successfully arrive at Tanis. Some unknown time later, a man suddenly wakes up in the cryosleep pod. He immediately inhales some fresh air and stretches a little bit. When he tries to stand up, the ship experiences power surges caused by an unstable nuclear reactor. Luckily, he finds a light stick and starts to walk around. Trying to recall what has happened, he seems to suffer from partial amnesia and Pandorum, a space-related disorder that causes psychosis while his body can still react instinctively. He doesn't even know his name until he finds it on the capsule, which tells that his name is Bauer and that he is a flight crew of the ship. Then he finds his locker, where he rips off the dead skin from his arm, puts on a clean set of clothes, and shaves his beard. He even finds a photo of a girl, but can't remember who she is. Sometime later, another man wakes up too. He still remembers that he is a lieutenant, and that there is backup power on the ship. However, the backup power is far less enough for them. So they have to go to the reactor to restart the power supply. However, as all the doors are locked now, Bauer has no choice but to go there through the ventilation pipes. On the way, he finds a woman who is trying to break into a room. Just when Bauer wants to take a step forward and to talk with the woman runs away, seemingly scared by the flashlight in Bauer's hand. Bauer tries to catch up with the woman, but is stopped by a disemboweled body in the way. When he is taking a close look at the body, the woman attacks him from behind and knocks him down easily, taking away all his belongings, even his clothes. However, right then the weird woman is again scared away by the blue light, which suddenly appears at the end of the walkway. The blue light turns out to be from the weapons of a group of mutant humanoids who have turned into cannibals. And the body hanging in the air is a trap set by those cannibals. Bauer narrowly escapes as he quickly hides into the corner. After a while, those mutants leave, and Bauer gets to the second floor under the lieutenant's directions. Much to his surprise, there is another body trap on that floor. Bauer wakes up the person, who starts to burst out screaming. The man turns out to be a bait, and his scream brings back those cannibals again. Both of the two run as fast as they can. The bait jumps over the first huge hole and hides in the corner of the second one, while Bauer fails and falls down into the first hole. The mutants, however, directly jump into the second hole and find the bait. They cruelly hang the bait in the air and devour him. Seeing this, Bauer tries to slip away, but is still discovered by the alert cannibals. Now Bauer is in the jaws of the death, as the fresh blood and flesh is a great lure for the cannibals. He keeps running until to the cliff edge. He has no choice but to jump off. However, one of his feet is entangled by the electric wine, but is then luckily saved by a Vietnamese. Though they are not able to communicate, they decide to band together. And the two meet the woman again without walking far. The woman once again is hostile towards Bauer, and has a fierce fight with Bauer. Seeing this, the Vietnamese shoots in the air to calm them down. The woman later finds that Bauer has no intention to harm her, so she gradually lets her guard down, and takes them to the place she lives in. It turns out that the woman used to be one of the biologists on the ship, and the place she lives in is an ecological development lab, where thousands of plant and animal embryos are kept. So the surviving people can revive human civilization by making use of the specimens. Bauer then tells the other two that he is trying to go to the reactor to restart the ship. Both of them are bowing to help Bauer, and they meet another survivor, Black. Black awakes from hypersleep much earlier than them. thus knowing more about the situation on the ship. The three at first think maybe Black can help them get rid of the cannibals and find a safer way to get to the reactor. However, the seemingly very friendly Black is not a good guy at all. He poisons the food the three eat, planning to turn them all into his food. In order to survive, Bauer lies to him that if the power cannot be restarted in 1 hour, the ship will fall apart and no one can survive. To their relief, Black buys his words. He not only set them free, but also asks for joining them. With Black's help, they soon get to the central control room, where the reactor is kept. However, they never know that it has already become the base of the cannibals until then, and the reactor is across the huge and deep hole, where thousands of cannibals are sleeping under it. Bauer puts on the clothes of one of the cannibals to hide his smell, and then starts to walk through those cannibals in deep sleep. However, on his halfway to the reactor, Black's torch accidentally falls off, whose harsh light wakes up many of the mutants in no time. The Vietnamese, in order to protect Bauer and their operation, screams loudly to distract the mutants. Thanks to his help, Bauer successfully restarts the reactor, killing many mutants. However, Black is cornered by a mutant leader. Though he kills the leader in the end, he is then killed by a mutant child, due to his hesitation to slay the mutant but cute boy. After the power is restarted, all the cabin doors start to function normally. However, when they return to meet with the lieutenant, they surprisingly find that the missing Black is lying on the ground, already dead. Bauer, looking at the lieutenant, starts to recall the memories lost before. It turns out that not long after the ship set out, Bauer and the other crews had already received the news that Earth was destroyed. Everyone therefore started to become depressed and chose to give up the immigration plan. Some chose to commit suicide, while others returned to the hypersleep pods. However, a lunatic ejected more than 50,000 pods into space, but he later got killed by the lieutenant. Lieutenant, however, also suffers from Great Depression himself, and the blood of that lunatic made him start to kill more people. He locked many of those in hypersleep into the cargo hold, making them kill each other so as to survive. When he finally lost interest in his massacre mission, he went back to the hypersleep pod too. But those luckily survivors don't have a lucky life in the following hundreds of years, as they all have evolved from humans into the cannibal-like monsters, as we see now. What's more, the so-called lieutenant is not the real lieutenant at all. The real one had already been killed by him long ago. The fake lieutenant despises the rule of law and wants to build a new and free kingdom. After getting his memories back, Bauer forces the fake lieutenant to tell them their current location with a gun aiming at his head. The fake lieutenant says nothing, but directly opens the shutters on the bridge's windows. After seeing the dark sky without even a star, but some luminous sea creatures swimming overhead, Bauer is greatly shocked and terrified, and is further pushed towards insanity. He then hallucinates a mutant attack and breaks a window. A huge amount of seawater pours in. The fake lieutenant is drowned by the flood, while Bauer and the woman climb into a hypersleep pod in time. They start the emergency protocol and are soon ejected to the surface of the sea. It's shown that the ship reached Tanis 800 years ago and landed itself in the ocean. And as the protocol has been triggered, the other remaining 1,200 pods have been ejected to the surface too. By now the ship has officially completed its mission, and a new human civilization is going to emerge soon. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Peace out.